value our relationship. She would rather put her friends before the relationship, and at the last second back out and not take my feelings into consideration. So there was just a bunch of different things that um, led her to do that, but I still feel like she took the easy way out, and instead of working on the relationship and talking or having respect or showing that. And I don't want to say that like she has to like submit, like be submissive to me, but I feel like, you know, if you can't see where the other person is coming from at all, then you probably shouldn't be with them. And maybe she should have moved, but I just don't believe in doing that to someone that you shared love with and you had these deep feelings with. And, you know, because we were very, like, it was very affectionate, it was very romantic, it was very emotional, it was very, like, connected. But it ended there, really. And I don't want to say that it was all just like physical, but I think that's a big part of it. When you could just spend the day, on the couch, just watching your favorite show with somebody, or you're just in bed cuddling. Like for me, that's a big part of it, and I don't take that lightly. If you're doing that with me, it means that we have a connection. And it doesn't mean that we were the best at everything else, but in hindsight, she probably took those things and she, you know, taught herself how to just walk away. And I think that was her way of trying to protect herself. And she always used to tell me that's how she learns to. And one of the ways that came through is that she would always move every year. She would like move to a different place, a different apartment, a different living situation. And me, I've only moved like 3 or 4 different times in my life. Because my home is sacred. Where I lay my head at night, and I can't just pick up and leave. And so that's one of the reasons why I was fighting, and I am fighting to try to keep this place, because now this is my home away from home. All my family, all my friends are in Chicago, but now this is a piece of that, a piece of me in this place. So I'm going to try to keep it, as much. No, 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 no. I mean, I wish I could say that we had a good connection. We don't have a good connection with our family. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I left. My dad was, very old school, traditional Mexican, like just, but not affectionate, not communicative. And yeah, yeah. So it's like, that's one of the reasons is because, my mom lost her job. She was, she had a very good job in Chicago. She was in corporate. She had like a good title and was making good money. She was like the breadwinner of the family, and my dad, he only ever made a certain amount of money, but never as much because he had more of a labor job. Um, but so there was a big recession in 2009. She lost her job. I moved back home to help with them financially. Um, so I was paying rent to them and taking care of them. And he never said thank you. He never said, he never acknowledged me coming back to help the family. Instead, he used that energy to blame my mom for losing her job. But she can't control she can't control the economy. How the country goes into a depression or a recession or whatever. So it was just, and then my sister, she never really like acknowledged, my younger sister, Vanina, she never really acknowledged me. One of the main benefits of me moving back home was, I could help pay the bills, and it helps put her through school, through a private school. That my mom had her in a private school and she didn't want to take her out. So my mom called me one day crying, like, what am I going to do with Nina? And I was in college. I was living in my apartment in Chicago in college. And I was like, well, how about I move home? And so we do that. But then when you put your life on the back seat, basically, I put my life on hold because I'm leaving all my college, people and friends and social life, and I'm just going back home, and I'm just back home with my parents. Well, I mean, he's always been a hard worker, but that to me that doesn't make up for not having a good relationship with your family or your son, or you know. So for me, um, I was left with this feeling of I gotta, you know, it felt like a dead end. I was drinking. I started to drink more and more, and just not be happy. And I was just working a 9 to 5, and I would come home and just like numb myself and just drink and just whatever. I would never go crazy, but you just kind of get in that lull of doing that. And then that's when I met Delnay, the girl that I moved out to Los Angeles with. And I was able to relocate my job from Chicago to they have an office. No, I met her in Chicago. In Chicago, yeah, yeah. Her best friend was dating my best friend, and yeah, and so we met and we had good times too. She was living in Southern Illinois. It was romantic. So I would go and travel from Chicago. I would take the train and I would travel like a couple hours to Southern Illinois, and I would meet her. It was this whole beautiful thing. And then eventually we were like, she was like, I'm thinking about going to LA. And I was like, well, and again, I that was the first time I made the mistake where you fall in love too quickly and you don't know what the other person's plans are. And so I was like, well, if I let her go, I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be heartbroken. So I came up with the idea. I was like, why don't I move with you, or why don't we move together to Los Angeles? So I was the one that got it all together. I planned it. I found the apartment. I communicated to my job, and I relocated, and I helped her until she found a job in Los Angeles. But yeah, we had moved into our first apartment together, and that ended. Like 4 years later, again another argument. But that time was worse. That I will admit that time was worse. It was never like violent or physical. Like I would never, because I don't have like anger in my heart. Like I don't have like physical violence or physical anger or anything like that. But I was drinking at the time, and we did get into like an argument, like a physical confrontation, where I did try to like hold her down a little bit. But she was at the point where she was like, you know, her switch was flipped, so she was already in like that like battle mode where she thinks that like I'm trying to like fight or something like that, but I was not trying to do anything. So it was a big misunderstanding, and eventually we stood together for another year after that, but no sex, no physical, nothing. And it was so weird because, like I said, I brought my bad habits from Chicago, so I was just used to drinking, and I never thought that she would leave me. I think I didn't think of it in that way, but you know we were together again a year after that, and so I just thought we were okay. And even though, but I was fooling myself because in hindsight, if you're not physically intimate with the person that you're with, it's a problem. For a year. So, anyways, so then that ended, and that was like basically my first big heartbreak, like in my life. Really, I've had other connections and people that I was with, but that was like my first serious girlfriend that I was with for overall. That was like 4 years altogether. It was long distance in Chicago for like 10 months, and then we moved to LA, and then we lived together in LA for like 3 years. And then, so then after her, um, I meet this girl, Lauren. She's a model. And then this whole thing happens with her. That doesn't work. And then that's when I help my family, friends of the family. And then that didn't work. And then that's when I met my ex, my most recent ex, Casey, the girl that I've been telling you about that left me before Thanksgiving. So long, like all in all, I've been in Los Angeles since 2015. So about coming up on like 7.5 years, 8 years, I think, in September. But yeah, yeah. So it's been an up and down. Yeah, it's been up and down. You know. Yeah, 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 yeah. I didn't want to be. You see those husbands where they call them like hen pecked, where the woman is always pecking at them, like nagging at them, and they just take it, and then they grow soft and old, and they just take it. And they don't stand up for themselves. I didn't want to be that, you know, with my last relationship. So yeah. Mm. Well, for me, that's yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I did. That's another reason why I moved from Chicago. Not only because I met that girl, Donna, my girlfriend at the time, but because the only reason why you leave your family and your friends is because you don't have your roots. You didn't have those relationships established, and that's really what it was. And so now I find that being by myself, and I don't have friends and family in Los Angeles. I'm by myself. I've been living a very lonely, solitary life, you know. So I'm happy that, yeah, 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 yeah. So it's good that we found each other and that we could talk. But I was saying that, you know, you're left with the memories, and for me, it's like anger. It's like anger. I'm mad that my dad wasn't a part of my life and doesn't. He's never picked up the phone and called me. He's that kind of person where if you don't call him, you'll never hear from him again. And to me, that hurts because, like, me and my mom, we talked a lot. I was talking to my mom earlier today, and we could talk for hours. But my dad will, he, he's never, he's never spoken to me like that, And so for me, it's just like when it gets bad, we all go through like emotions and like it's like spiritual warfare where you're trying to like not let the anger or the bitterness control you, or have power over you because you know a part of you feels like how can you be like that with your own son? To not be involved or not be invested or not want to talk and ask him about his life. But he thinks that he did a great job and his kids are out of the house and that's it. But guess what? He never invested. He never spoke with us. He never spent time with us. He never took us to a movie. Not once. Not once. He never, and I thought about this the other day. He never took us to anything. He never took us to like a baseball game. He never did anything once. It's crazy. I can't imagine never having a kid and not doing anything like that. I mean, but then of course he probably had that with his dad, So you think of what was that? Yeah, Yeah. 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 But I think that's the thing that like the only thing that it makes me feel better when I think that like you can't be mad at that person because they were probably treated that way. You know, like my dad, he was probably treated that way by his parents, you know, or by his dad. So at the end of the day, you just have to have compassion. But yeah, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard when you just, you know, you just feel, yeah, yeah, yeah. It just said the phone went off. Anyway. I don't know. This is not fresh. Whoops. Shoot. Bridge stir. Drink some tea. Yeah, this is me in a nutshell. Yeah. I mean, I guess, but I'm not. I wouldn't like tell my family about you. Hi, this is Dylan. Okay, let me take a look. 1 second. Okay, let me take a look. 1 second. Yes, you hear me flipping. Be patient. All right. Well, you need to hear better. Be patient, please. Give me a second. Okay, so are you. Yeah, and you're being rude and you're wasting time being rude. Do you want to proceed or not? You go fuck yourself. His father, the American dream, looking down in the heavens, has to be proud. But in the end, Roman Reigns has done it again. The greatest title run of the modern era. And considering today's world, it may have just become the greatest title run of all time. Because tonight, at WrestleMania in Los Angeles, as the 945-day reign continues, all of us must acknowledge him. We must acknowledge the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Sneaking back to ringside while Heyman had the official occupied. Samoa spiked to the throat of Cody Rhodes. A massive spear by Roman Reigns, and the sound that followed was 81,000 hearts simultaneously shattering under the bright lights of Hollywood. Yeah, he fucked up because he didn't align himself with anybody. That's all.
As a master storyteller, I'm here to tell you all a story. Once upon a time in a Hollywood story. We got started now. You're welcome. Tonight total 161,892. That's crazy. Let's get it. That 14 has to be from Chase, and that has to be from like, yeah, 250 and then 64. And then after that, that was fucking huge. This bitch. Holy shit. Is that usually Saturday? 38 is from more than that. That's so crazy. That's 200 right there.
switches off. Here's what Jason Jack. So that's Word, that's Cooper, that's some other stuff that I haven't know, I guess. That's all that stuff. That's Chuck. What's the one thing over there? Oh, that's the what's the 38 and then 19. Sorry. Oh, this is four. One. Yes, that was that. And then I had that would work. Wow. That's not great. That's really good. That's nice. That's great. That's also good. So 30 for the cash out, 165 for the other fucking Uber stuff. That's 20 that's 50 other Uber stuff. And 120 and 30 drug lines. And 121 for the Uber. 172 for that. That's insane. Then 314 for the end of the other. That's crazy. 314 for that. Right.
Call. Press 1 to accept the call. Press 9 to make yourself unavailable. Or press any other key to reject the call.
I still. Yes, I can. Yeah, and the whole honking and reversing as she's going, is that her like miscommunicating, like trying to say hi as she's, but then it's, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to see if I see anything as far as the energy surrounding. Yeah, Yeah. So I mean, if she's an older woman, I do see, and I don't know how old she is, but I see the death card here. To be honest, and I'm not one to like jump to conclusions. I don't read that as literal most of the time. But I just wonder, like, does this lady feel as though that she's getting older, and that not only is she like out of touch with like how to, like you said, like if you want to be my friend, just like come up and communicate, and so yeah, and so I just wonder if she is letting her age kind of get to her, and so now she's a little bit. I mean, I feel like desperate would be a strong word,